Good evening. This is the Hanson Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, July 13th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is being televised and recorded through Whitman Hanson Cable Access. Please join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Weeks, if it's all right with you, could we do announcements after executive session?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. With that being said, I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparations for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to wit, Highway Director, as well as to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effects on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares.
So moved. Second.
A roll call vote. Mr. Weeks?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. McKevitt?
Aye.
Mayor Dyer? Aye. Jim? Aye. All right. We are now in executive session. The Hanson Board of Selectmen's meeting, July 13th. Coming out of executive session, Mr. Weeks has our weekly announcements.
Announcements. We are looking for a representative to serve as Hanson's member of the South Shore Vocational Technical School Committee, and let's give Hanson a voice at the table. Volunteers are also needed on the following committees: Bylaw Review Committee, Facebook Upkeep Committee, Capital Improvement Committee, Conservation Commission, Cultural Council, Disabilities, Economic Development Committee, Highway Building Committee, Historical Commission, Memorial Day Patriotic Observance, Memorial Field Trustees, and Nathaniel Thomas Mills Committee. Upcoming meetings: Board of Selectmen, July 27th, 2021 at 6 p.m. and Board of Selectmen meeting August 10th, 2021 at 6 p.m.
Great, thank you very much. All right, first item on new business is open October 4th, 2021 special town meeting warrant. Due date for these articles is August 24th, 2021. So I'll entertain a motion to open up special town meeting warrant. Moved by Laura, second by Jim. All in favor? Aye. All right, and then a note for the board. If you have anything that you would like to place in fall town meeting, please send a note to Laura and Greer, and we'll discuss it.
I think you mean Lisa Greer.
Yes, Lisa and Greer, thank you. So that'd be great.
Or,
Yeah.
Or all three of them.
Yeah, all three, yeah. So, so with that being said, moving on to execute amended easement deed for Mass Electric Company at 111 Liberty Street. Ms. Green?
Yes, so members of the board, this is a deed for an easement brought forward by the Massachusetts Electric Company, and this has to do with the cell tower that is being built over at 111 Liberty Street. So they need to install power that's going to power the cell tower. And this document is the easement deed. Kate did look at this, and everything is in order, so we just need the Board of Selectmen to sign it so I can send it back to the electric company, and they can do what they need to do as far as filing it with the court and then begin work.
Great. Do I hear a motion to approve of the amended easement? Moved by
Second.
Laura, second by Jim.
Third.
Third? Fourth. All right, all in favor? Aye, the motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is consider October special town meeting article regarding meals tax. Ms. Green?
Okay, yes, again, members of the board. So, way back in April, when I was preparing for interview for this position, I was doing lots of research on revenues, or how Hanson could get more money, more revenue. And one thing that I found out through looking through your past auditors' reports that Hanson has not adopted and taken advantage of the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 64L and 803 Code of Massachusetts Regulations, which is a sales tax on meals. The information shows that basically, if Hanson were to adopt this this needs to go before town meeting, so it needs to be an article in the town meeting. What would happen is any eating restaurant establishment within the town of Hanson would charge an extra 15% onto a meals bill. And that money goes to state, and then it gets directed back to Hanson. And it's not a tremendous amount of money. On a $100 restaurant check, it's 75 cents. So it's not a great deal of money.
Ms. Green, did you say 15% or 3/4%?
I'm sorry, 0.75%. I'm sorry, I was looking at something else.
Did that up on.
Sorry about that.
The usual tip is 15%.
And that, that's what I was looking at. I was looking at the tip percentage. So basically, this statute has been around for many, many years. And I have included information that I got off of the Department of Labor Services website that shows the towns, basically all of our neighbors have adopted this law. And it will show you, basically on the second page, the amount of income all of our neighbors are receiving through this meals tax. And if you notice, the only towns that are on this list that get zeros are Lakeville, Hanson, and Plimpton. So there may be an argument that if we were to adopt this meals tax and town meeting were to pass it, that it would drive business away from our town restaurants and eateries. But they wouldn't be able to go to any of our neighbors unless they go to Lakeville and Plimpton to escape that. Because again, all of our neighbors have adopted this. And it is a area of revenue that Hanson has not tapped into that we could really significantly benefit from. And again, as you can see, in 2020, the town of Abington totaled $319,000. Bridgewater, $359,000. Look at Brockton, over $1 million. Carver, $138,000.
Lisa,
Halifax.
Can I ask you a really quick
Yep.
question? Because mine's a little bit related to that. So out of these towns, which one is the most similar to Hanson? Because it's great to say, yeah, Brockton, obviously Brockton would bring in $1 million. What here, aside from Lakeville or Plimpton,
I would say
Comparison.
Pembroke.
Pembroke?
No,
I think that's a
I
little bit
Probably-
disagree.
Yeah,
Pembroke has
Pembroke's
way
probably
more
bigger.
restaurants
Probably
than we
bigger.
do.
I would
Well-
just say maybe Halifax, which brought in, what, 42?
Yeah.
42,000?
Halifax has a lot of restaurants too.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of
That's
like.
probably similar.
Hanson-
Similar-ish,
Hanson has approximately 19 eating type of establishments. And that includes not only restaurants, but it includes Dunkin' Donuts. It includes
And that was my next
Shaw's,
question. Okay,
where
so-
they sell prepared food. It includes any type of takeout that don't have sit-in dining. So Hanson has about 19. I haven't counted all of our neighbors, but, I mean, similarly situated towns with population and things like that. Whitman as well may have the same number or maybe a little bit more. But again, all of our neighbors have eateries, and it's people coming cross borders to go to dine to their favorite restaurants. I mean, we have the Old Hitching Post, we have Venus 3 here, very popular restaurants. We have Shaw's that sells their fried chicken dinners that, again, this meals tax is attached to. But it's a revenue source that Hanson hasn't tapped into, and I think that maybe we should strongly consider it. It really will help us meet some of our obligations, especially with retirement type of obligations. We can earmark a certain percentage of that money to go towards OPEB on an annual basis, which will look favorably with our rating agencies on Hanson.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
for those at home that don't know what OPEB is, could you just,
Oh, I'm sorry, it's other post-employment benefits. And each municipality is required by law to supply post-employment benefits to employees who retire in the form of health insurance and things like that. It's very costly. Rating agencies that give towns their rating as far as interest rates for loans and things like that, look at this type of liability. And a town, when you're putting money towards it, they look favorably on that. When they don't, when a town is not putting any money towards it, they look very unfavorably on that. And they actually can downgrade your rating, which impacts your interest rates when you borrow money.
Ms. Green, I think that this is fantastic, and I just want to throw this stat out there. On a $100 bill at a restaurant, a customer would pay only 75 cents on that $100 bill. So this isn't out of proportion. This isn't going to break the bank for a lot of folks. So, and I think that this is a great way to kind of stabilize the OPEB account, because we know we are going to be facing some significant challenges in the short future on this.
And this is with bars, too. Anybody who sits at a bar and orders food, that whole tab is subject to the meals tax,
So, Ms. Green,
including the alcohol.
are you looking for a certain motion or anything like that, or did you just want to bring it to the board's attention?
Just a motion to prepare an article to put on the October special town meeting warrant.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it, just with the idea that I do think it's important for the townspeople to take a look at this and see if it's something that they want to invest in. I think that's the biggest piece. It's not necessarily that I think this is a great idea or a bad idea, but I think in terms of having a conversation about it, I think this opens up that conversation. Because I do think, in addition to what you just said in terms of the dollar amount, it is important that of all the towns in the surrounding area, the only ones that have not adopted this, according to this report, is Hanson, Lakeville, and Plimpton. And it looks like it's, let's just take Carver. Month to month, it brought an additional $28,000 in the month of September, an additional $31,000 in the month of December. It looks like this is revenue that we can and should consider and give the townspeople a voice in voting on, one way or another. So I will second it based off of that statement.
I agree.
Ms. Kement?
I think this is a great idea, and I applaud you for bringing it to us, Lisa. I like the fact that you're thinking outside of the box and being aggressive about looking for opportunities for revenue. My only concern, and I have to put my economic development hat on, my only concern is how difficult is it for the restaurants to implement this? And I would love to be able to talk to them and see if they think, I mean, I agree, if it's a $100 check and it's 75 cents, that's not gonna be a deterrent for me of whether I'm gonna go to Hanson or go to Halifax or whatever. But I guess I'm just curious, if we were to pass this at town meeting in October, what kind of timeline do people have to implement it? And does it require, I would imagine it's gonna require them to update software, or, whatever and are there costs that they're gonna have to incur? And I feel a little queasy about that if that's the case, because we all know these guys are struggling to get back on their feet from COVID, which is why we're doing the LRPP consultant to figure out how to help businesses for COVID. So I don't want to, even though it's 75 cents on $100, I want to know, what is the implementation going to look like? What are the costs associated with implementation? And I think it's important to note that all of the communities that you've listed here, they all implemented this with the exception of one, which I think might have been Whitman. Not sure. I don't know who it was. Well before the COVID hit.
Right.
And I think of all of the businesses in town that have been hit, I have to say it has been the restaurants. And I've talked to nearly every restaurant owner, not Dunkin' Donuts, because I don't do Dunkin' Donuts, but actual restaurant owners in town, and they've all really struggled. Happy to report there's a resurgence, business is booming, but, just don't want to add an additional burden on. So I guess if there's some, and again, I'm not voting against it. I definitely think we should put it to the voters, but I really would want to know, in terms of implementation, what we're looking at for costs. Would most of the software programs they're using, automatically be able to update, or is there going to be an additional cost for them to incur? And then what kind of lead in time? So, for instance, if we adopt it in October, when would it be effective? Like immediately, or January 1st, or like, how does that work?
Let's see. So as far as implementation, I don't really know the answers to that. I mean, they already charge a sales tax onto it, so this would just be adding the additional 0.75% onto that tax. So I don't know if they have to, the restaurants need to do anything, or if it mainly comes from the state. Once they turn over the tax to the state, then the state would say, oh yeah, Hanson's got the local meals tax, so we're going to forward that information. So it might not fall on our local restaurants. It might
I
fall on
don't
the
see
state.
how it wouldn't, because they have to collect it in order to transmit it.
right.
And in order to collect it, they're going to have to update their software to have that additional line item that reflects, because you've got to have disclosure on it.
Right. I'll look into to see if I can find out how, what they need to do. And as far as implementation, so if we were to adopt it in October, special town meeting, the implementation date would be December 1st. And then the tax, assessment by establishment would happen in January. The revenue collected by the DOR would happen in February, so we would see a distribution about March 31st of 2022.
Okay.
So I can reach out to the DOR to see what procedures that they have the restaurants go through to implement this on their end, and see what I can find out.
That would be super helpful, thank you.
Great. And then also, too, if there's any restaurants out there that would like to provide feedback to
Yes.
this ahead of time, I always welcome feedback ahead of time.
Yep.
So with that being said, we have a motion made and seconded. All in favor of placing this on October special town meeting? 5-0? All right. So next item on the agenda is Hanson Business Network, Hanson Business Network, Hanson Day?
Yes. It
Okay.
flows right off the tongue.
Yeah, Flows, yeah. Ms.
Say it
Kemet?
5 times fast.
The Hanson Business Network would like to reserve the green, the Town Hall green, for September 18th and as the primary date, and the 25th as the rain date. If, for those of you that have been to the last couple of Hanson Days that the Hanson Business Network ran, it would be the same thing, lots of nonprofits, an opportunity to showcase local businesses. We would welcome everybody and anybody really to participate. It's a way to kind of celebrate all things Hanson, whatever that may mean to you. In past years, we've had the library, the food pantry, 4-H, people with animals. We had a guy who did custom cars. This was the highlight. We had a flea circus where the gentleman came. We had another one that was a tick. He was demonstrating ticks and how quick they are. We've had, just a number of things. Of course, the bouncy and the typical types of things, but try to be educational. It's a great place to potentially recruit. I was sort of hoping personally, Mr. Chair, that the town would have a table there to talk about what availability we have on various committees that we are talking about every week or every other week as we meet. And perhaps even just a forum for people to come and ask us things that they may have, some burning question that they have, that they don't want to have to come to a selectmen's meeting to ask, or they don't want to have to call, but they just want to kind of pop over. And it may be that we'll have to say, oh, you've got to talk to Lisa Green or whatever, but I was sort of hoping we'd do that, hoping the library, again, would be a partner, as you guys always have. And Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, that type of thing, Camp Kiwanee, it might be a great opportunity for them to come and showcase what they've got, so that maybe townspeople have got a better vantage point of the different services that are up in Camp Kiwanee. So I know that's a lot, but, so we're looking for the 18th as the primary date with the 25th as the backup date. It will be no fee charged. This is a free-for-all event. We don't want anybody feeling as though they're excluded because of financial concerns. If people feel so inclined, we'd encourage people to bring canned goods for the food pantry.
Great,
The
excellent.
18th, what month, Laura?
September. And, oh, thanks for mentioning that, Ken, because in the past, actually, it's been in June, so we're changing it up a little bit. But of course, in June, we couldn't have it. We really weren't quite out of the whole COVID situation. So we'll see. This may end up sticking and be a better time, or we may end up getting no attendance and saying we're going back to June. So,
Excellent. With that being said, Greer, do you know off the top of your head if we have those 2 dates available?
I do not, I can check, and if there's a problem, I could tell you at the next meeting, but
Perfect.
otherwise I'll just schedule it in.
Perfect.
I
I'll check
did
that.
look at what we had approved before they had submitted this, and there's the Family Fun Day that Calvary Baptist does. That's like the end of August, and then I think the next thing was the 200th Anniversary Committee was doing something like the first week in October, which Jim is holding very close to the vest.
Yeah,
and
top
Has been
secret.
sworn to secrecy, but,
Top.
so, that's all I know of, but, let us know, Greer, if those dates don't work.
Mr. Weeks?
I'll make a motion to allow for this event pending that there's an opening on the calendar to do so.
Do I hear a second? It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. All right, 5-0. All right. Next item on the agenda is Green Communities Project for fiscal year '22. So this is really exciting stuff. Sitting on the Energy Committee, the committee had worked on preparing a grant with Deb Petty for Green Communities. So what this is, it's a grant that is issued by the Department of Energy Resources through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And each year, it's a competitive grant. And the first year, we got $156,000. I'm pointing over to the giant check over there in the corner. And this year, we had received $143,000 and some change to make the following improvements: about $10,000 to help with weatherization up at the highway barn, $8,000 up at Camp Kawani for weatherization, $8,000 for weatherization at the library, $71,000 to upgrade the LED lighting, $19,000 for the middle school and the boiler controls, $15,000 for the water department and the LED lighting, and then $10,000 for administrative assistance. So I just want to say thank you very much to the Energy Committee and Deb Petty, who had worked really hard on this as well, and Ms. Green for buttoning it up and making sure that it's all good.
And bringing it over the line. Lisa brought it over the line for us.
So, so with that being said, this is really good work. And thank you very much. And thank you very much to the Baker and Polito administration for issuing these kind of grants. So with that being said, moving on, discuss revitalization drainage committee. There had been several people that had approached me about the drainage committee, of just about drainage issues here in Hanson altogether. And I think it might be a good thing to help with guiding the drainage committee, because I know sometimes being on a committee, you might not know what needs to be going on or whatnot. So with that being said, I think, was there any particular comments from our board?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it, I don't know when I mentioned it today, but at the risk of repeating myself, we have a lot of wetlands in town. We have a lot of drainage issues in town. And I think you were at the ZBA meeting with me, and, not with me, but you were there at the
Right.
same time. Joe was there. And we could hear that a lot of the people on Spring Street were expressing real concerns about the drainage. I've had other people approach me about drainage issues. And so it seems to me as though that committee's been sort of, I don't even know when the last time it met. I don't remember ever hearing any kind of an update in the few years that I've been a selectman. Maybe it's meeting like stealth, and I just don't know about it, I don't know, but, but I would really like to see us encourage that drainage committee to start meeting and start getting feedback from citizens on areas of concern, realizing, and pardon the pun, that there will be a flood of requests initially, since I don't believe it has been meeting. But I think we need a drainage committee to help prioritize and work with the folks in highway and discuss, and maybe with planning if they have feedback, or ZBA if they've got feedback about projects. And then I know there's a number of culverts and many of the developments that have been approved. I'm not sure whether we're doing our part to clean those out on a regular basis. I believe Mr. Howard contacted you, he contacted me as well, and expressed a lot of concern about the condition many of those culverts are in. They're designed specifically to handle runoff, but they only work if we maintain them, or if the party responsible. It's not always us. If it's a private way, it may be HOA or it may be somebody else. So anyway, that's my long-winded way of saying, that's why I kind of was hoping we could get that drainage committee going. But the only member I know on the drainage committee is Mr. Hickey, and I'm not sure who else is on that committee.
No idea. In the
I know.
38 months, and
I
I
can get
don't want,
him a list tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
what's
Of
it?
who's on the committee,
Right.
yeah.
There's 3 people, I'm one of them.
Oh,
But in the 38 months that I've been a selectman, I've never had a meeting. I've never been approached by any committee members.
Yeah.
I've never been approached by any citizen. I've never been emailed, contacted, or stopped at Shaw's to say, you're on the drainage committee. I'd like to talk to you about that. Not once. The first time I saw that we were going to talk about this was when it came out Friday at noon. And then no other member of this board, Matthew, contacted me to let me know we were going to talk about it, or I could have had at least some kind of information. Not one of the people that contacted Laura or Matt contacted me. And I've been the Drainage Committee chairman since I was voted onto this board. So I'm actually taken a little back by the two of you, receiving phone calls or emails. When I've joked about it in the past many times that, I was on this committee. So actually, if you have something to say about this committee, my number is in the book. You can call me. Everybody here has my cell phone number.
Right,
So-
but you're not the committee though, Jim. I
Right.
see that I feel like you're taking this personally, but you're not the committee. What we're saying is whoever those other members are, it needs to start happening. Like, we couldn't say, well, go talk to the drainage committee. There is no drainage
isn't
committee. It
one.
hasn't been meeting.
Right.
So we're just saying, can we get on with it? And
Right.
kind of jumpstart it.
Absolutely. And if I got any kind of heads up, I would have had some kind of information, or at least the other people's names. I know I saw them in June when we approved them.
Yeah.
But some of the committees we have are a joke. The Drainage Committee has been a joke for the 38 months I've been here. We want to fix that? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll fix it.
Yeah.
Great.
Super.
Great.
Cool. Next.
All right. Discussion of creation of the zoning bylaw committee. Ms. Kemet.
So we've been meeting with Phil Schaffing, who you guys all met when he's our consultant that we got through the grant for the Economic Development Committee. And he's been talking about different priorities and what we should be looking at if we want to make Main Street more business-friendly, more accessible, et cetera, and we've talked about this before, so you guys know. One of the things that we need to look at is our zoning bylaws, particularly in that area, are conducive to having businesses feel welcomed? And that's sort of a rhetoric question, because they really aren't. And so he suggested that we create a zoning bylaw review committee, and just spitballing it with Lisa and Phil, what we were kind of thinking was it would be probably somebody from planning, somebody from conservation, and somebody from highway, but that doesn't need to be like a voting member, but sort of like a, ex officio type of like consultant, but kind of participating and giving us their 2 cents worth. Because clearly, a lot of what is going to come up down there is sidewalks and roads, and that's going to involve the highway, so I really wouldn't want a whole committee talking about things and then talking to Jameson about it after the fact. I kind of feel like he needs to be included in the conversation. Probably somebody from ZBA, one member from ZBA, because there's going to be variances down there, and I know quite a while ago, I had talked to Mr. Cushing, the chair of ZBA, and he had mentioned that, just during the ordinary course of them meeting, stuff comes up that they're like, well, maybe we should look at that at some point, look at that bylaw, look at this bylaw. And I know the planning is the same thing. They run across stuff and they're like, we know it says this, but really the intent is that, and, and geez, why don't we look at this instead of, sign, and I'm going to mention signage just as an example, but I know it's already been somewhat addressed by planning. But that was something that I kept hearing over and over again from businesses that were trying to locate on Main Street, was like, you guys have got pretty onerous signage bylaws. And I was like, I have no idea, or I'll have to go look at our signage bylaws. And they were like, yeah, Pembroke doesn't have, this, the footage, the frontage, the size, the lighting, and all of this kind of stuff. I mean, obviously, we don't want it to look like, the Las Vegas Strip with neon lights and all that stuff. I mean, we are a small town, so we'd like to keep that, be in keeping with that. But that's just a small example. It has, some of those things have been addressed, but there are other things, and I don't even completely know what those things are. Part of that will involve talking to people that are business owners there, probably having, working sessions where we have people from town come and talk to us about things. And anyway, so planning, conservation, ZBA, town administrator, somebody from the Board of Selectmen, and then the health agent as sort of like in a consulting, or it could be somebody from the Board of Health if they want to do that, and then probably somebody from Highway. And again, it doesn't have to be Jameson, but probably it should be. And Lisa, am I missing anybody?
Building?
Oh, thank you,
Building
building
inspector.
inspector. Yep.
All right, and that was recommended by the consultant
Yes.
to
Yep.
start really trying to move things.
Yep.
So with that being said, is there a motion on the table?
Only well, I will put a motion on the table, but who appoints this committee?
We would.
We would?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Well, I should say, we would create the committee, we would appoint our person to the committee, and then we would reach out, similar to like, say, community preservation, and we would say to planning, ZBA, conservation, would say, hey,
Send a
can you
representative.
guys throw somebody our way? And then Lisa would go to Highway and the Health and Building Inspector and say, would like you guys to participate on an ongoing basis.
So I'll make a motion for that, because I think it's a good idea. And I won't hold it against you, because I wrote the sign bylaw, so.
Okay, but I did caveat it by saying the sign bylaw was redone, so.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? 5-0?
Could have used any bylaw, but you had to pick that one up.
That was just an example.
All right, perfect. So with that being said, Greer, do you mind just reaching out to those committees and just,
Not at all.
okay,
Yeah, because we like to keep track of that on our appointments list that goes in town report and also in our database.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. So with,
And excuse me, but,
Sure.
and we're also going to have to appoint a member of the Board of Selectmen. I am going to be on it because I'm on the Economic Development Committee anyway, and I'm more than glad to do double duty, although this isn't exactly my area of great passion. So I don't know if somebody else might want to be the Board of Selectmen representative. I will be the Economic Development representative.
all right. Is there anyone on,
I'll be on that, for sure.
All right.
I have enough history with that, unless anybody else wants to. I don't want to just take it over, if you guys are
I
comfortable
would
with
take it, but obviously, Joe, now I have enough work with the Drainage Committee.
You have a uphill battle there.
I think you're a logical choice.
all right, so all in favor of appointing Joe to the newly created zoning bylaw review committee? All in favor, I'll hear a motion,
So
sorry.
moved.
Yeah, sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? All right, 5-0. All right, Joe. All right, perfect.
Just want to make sure there's no motion to reconsider since my signed bylaw thing didn't go so well, Laura. Sure you want
Go
me?
on the
Chair.
record.
All right,
Excuse me, Mr. Chair?
yes.
Mr. Chair, we just want to clarify the vote because Joe actually can't vote for himself to be on that committee, so it would be a 4-0 vote, not a 5-0 vote.
Okay,
4-0 abstain.
Well, can you vote
And
for
one
yourself?
abs- and one
I vote for
abstain.
I
myself,
think he
though.
can vote for
I
himself.
should be
vote
able
for
to.
himself?
I should,
It's not a
yeah.
conflict, he doesn't,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, he's
Okay,
good.
all right, thank you.
so we'll just keep it
Just
at 5-0.
wanted to make sure.
Either way.
Thank you. So appointments, discuss appointment to Economic Committee, Economic Development Committee and Capital Improvement Committee. I believe in our application, in our packets, we have Mr. Sweeney, who had applied, Sweezy, who applied for both. Is that correct?
And we also have Ms. Fisher who applied for economic development.
All right, and we have one opening?
We have one opening on economic development, yes.
Okay. All right, so with that being said, let's start with economic development. So with that being said, seeing how I already kind of keyed you up, Mr. Sweezy, do you mind coming to the podium and just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everybody, and to the board. My name's Ken Sweezy. I have 51 Matakeesit, born and raised in Hanson. Went to school in Chicago where I was involved in a student organization that really focused a lot on, I guess it wasn't public-private, but it was nonprofit-private relationships. It was, the budget was completely composed of donations and funds that we had to collect on our own. So those sort of relationships are what are really, really important, something that I have a little bit of experience in. We ran a budget of about $30,000, which I know is kind of peanuts for our town, but at that time, it was the largest student organization on campus, so we were really, really proud of that work that we had done. So I had a little bit of experience in that, and sort of building relationships with different sorts of stakeholders. Since I've been back in town, I've really been wanting to get involved, really passionate about doing so. This seems like something that's really, really important to the future of this town that we all love. I sat in on that economic development meeting with the consultant about a month ago now on Zoom. Something that people are really, really excited about, and it's what really stuck out to me was that combination that it's going to take of that public-private building relationships and investment and a lot of buy-in, as well as that sentiment of us wanting to remain a small town and keep that feel and that attitude and that front forward face of a small town. So I think keeping those two things in a healthy balance is going to be what is really the focus of that committee. And I think that being from here, having that little bit of experience, having that passion, being ready to get involved and do whatever the committee needs, be that extra set of hands or spitball ideas or whatever it may need, I'm really excited about getting involved with that if I should be appointed. So I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Great. Is there any questions from the board?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Ken Sweezy to Economic Development.
Before I entertain that motion, we just have two candidates for economic development,
Oh, I'm
correct?
sorry.
Yeah.
So,
And I don't think we really necessarily told Ms. Fisher that we were going to be discussing
okay.
that tonight.
So Ken, if it's all right with you, can we interview you tonight for this position and then give Ms. Fisher the opportunity to come in for that as well? Okay. So with that being said, Ken, I do actually have a question for you.
Sorry.
Me too.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I do too, but go first, please.
Sure. Ken, what do you think? I think that, the Economic Development Committee is really going to be focusing down on Main Street. What kind of vision do you have for Main Street? What would you like to see the town do to foster whatever your vision is for Main Street?
Absolutely. So I've been keeping up with it for just a couple months now, and I know obviously you guys have put in a lot more work than that. So forgive me if I'm completely contradicting some previous things said. Obviously, I know we have, I believe the chimney business is moving out of that area as well. So we'll have a little bit of vacant space, and there's a couple, I think they said 4 or 5 vacancies already, what the consultant said. So partnered with sort of the street and the highway stuff that they said, the signage, the sidewalks, the bike lanes, things of that nature, the accessibility to the train station. I'd really like to see when we do go to, recruit those businesses, to come in there. I think it would be great personally if we recruit businesses that have a little bit of staying power as far as how long the customer stays in that area. We don't want more and more businesses that are like, oh, you know, like the hardware store, I run in, get my wrench and run out and then I go back home, right? We want something that might attract people to frequent the area, use those bike paths, ride down there, get some coffee at a coffee shop or have dinner, you know, or if there's both, they can kind of hop around, do a little bit of shopping, a boutique, whatever it might be. Just putting stuff in there that'll really create a little bit of a business area community in that area that people go, stay to, spend money, hang out, have, you know, you can spend a whole Sunday, Saturday afternoon down in that area rather than just a dip in and out with just any business, right?
So just a quick follow-up, and I don't mean to throw you a curveball or anything like that. I always like to hear this train of thought, is you mentioned when we go recruit businesses and whatnot. A lot of times I think we all forget that we all wish the town can wave their wand
Sure.
and say, all right, bada bing, boom, boom, done. We have a main street in our
Sure.
Main Street now. We're working with private property, private businesses and whatnot. Do you have any experience with working with a small business or anything like that to kind of show when we say we're going to go out and recruit people? How do you make that public to private relationship happen?
Absolutely, right? And I think it's about, you know, as if I would be able to be appointed and really understand everything that Hanson has to offer, right? I think if we have a really good, you know, elevator speech, say, hey, we can give you this free table at Hanson Day, which tracks through 5,000 people, that's advertising. So if you move to town, we guarantee you whatever the prime spot might be. Or we can support you in XYZ way. Or if we have some sort of advertising somewhere in town, can put it in the paper or talk about it before or after, you know, to open the meetings. See everything that, get creative about what we could possibly offer these businesses, right? Just build that trust that like you said, to how to create that public-private relationship. Being honest upfront, build trust with them, tell them everything we have to offer, potentially get creative with that. And in return, hopefully we can recruit them and form that relationship and they'll want to do business in our town.
Great. Mr. Hickey, I think you had a question?
Yeah, and Ken, I apologize, but, and I could be wrong, is this the second application you filled out? It's dated May 24th, 21.
Yeah, nope, so I did fill it out in May.
But was there one before that, or was this the original one? I thought, Laura.
No, because remember, we, I'm trying to be delicate, which is not my strong suit.
consult with counsel.
We had to consult with counsel because we had a gentleman who it appears may have had some scheduling difficulty, and so we had to replace him. So we had a full complement.
Okay.
And then we had to check with counsel on how to handle somebody who hadn't yet been sworn in. So he wasn't like really officially part of the committee. So anyway, that opening. But Ken did just fill out, I think, for the capital improvement
Yes,
at
as
our
well.
last meeting, I think you, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
No, that's, I just thought there was a situation, obviously.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that I wasn't privy to, but I had seen Ken at a previous meeting, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Ken.
Mr. Weeks, you had a question?
Yeah, so, first of all, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate when anybody puts their name in the ring. What do you think because there's a lot of talented people on this committee already, obviously, you know, and I'd like to get as many talented people on these committees as possible. What's your kind of specialty? What would you bring to this committee that's unique and could really improve the town as a whole?
Sure, and I think it's all about perspective, right? I mean, we're obviously in any town, you have people of, you know, different backgrounds, different paths going forward. I think, you know, we have a lot of input, especially in just town affairs with stakeholders, people who do own businesses already. I think young families tend to really care a lot about, you know, how their kids are being raised in that town, right? But young adults, you know, young professionals, I think that perspective could be unique. What is going to attract me and people our age to stay in town rather than to go down to Plymouth or to go into Boston? Things like that. That's a very important demographic of the town as well, that can't be overlooked, and I think that will help with retention. I mean, a lot of people post-high school, post-college, move to those places as well. And I think creating this sort of business environment and this gathering place for all ages and all cuts of this town, could help with retention and make sure that all the stakeholders and all different, cutouts of our citizens their needs are being met, or their wants are being met.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions from the board regarding economic development?
So, Ken, just wondering, you said you have had a meeting you have had an opportunity to maybe participate, or at least listen to the consultant, kind of, so you at least have got that kind of background. When you look at that Main Street, other than filling the vacancies, can you think of something specific that would be a magnet for that area? Like something that you, like, if we had that, I think. people
Sure,
would
and I would have to go and probably walk it to see, every, square foot of it, right? But I think, things that are, that become trendy, if there was a green space there, very small, just a serviceable, like, park type area, green area, something that could bring in food trucks. Extremely popular thing now, right? Any events, get those in there, rotate them through on, Saturday afternoons, Sunday evenings, meeting place, people go right from dinner or lunch to the shopping.
Yep.
I think that's something, again, I'm not so intimately familiar that I could say, oh, it has to be in that
No,
spot.
no,
but-
that totally makes sense, and one of the things that has been discussed is perhaps like a boardwalk out to Burridge.
Yep, I know.
That was brought up, and it's interesting, last week I was on vacation, and I kept seeing all throughout the Adirondacks in these little towns, they're like 5,000 people, right? But they all have a draw, so for instance, like Ticonderoga has got the Star Trek experience. And so it's some dude that decided to rebuild the set of the original Star Trek, and people go there just to see that, but while they're going there, they're buying gas, they're getting food from the restaurants. Some people may even say, wow, this is a really lovely part of the state, I might want to relocate here. So something like that, and so I think that's one of the things. Not that it's going to be up to the committee necessarily to come up with the draw, but I think we're going to try to see if we can try to attract and brainstorm about what types of things would be a magnet for people to get attracted to go there. But to your point, and I love me some Ace Hardware, so I'm not saying anything about the hardware store because I love that store, but something that people are going to linger a little bit. And then they're going to poke next door and maybe check out the art gallery or, whatever. So, okay, well, again, we're thrilled that you're stepping up. I'm happy to have you putting your hat in the ring.
So,
I just got one more, that's all. Just
All
one
right,
more
real
question, because
quick.
I'm gonna ask it to everybody. Any conflict of interest or anything that needs to be disclosed before making our decision?
No, sir.
No, okay, that's all I need to know.
great, thank you. Ken, before you go, you also had put your name in for capital improvement.
Yes, yep.
So, with that being said, we already kind of heard who you are and what you're about. Did you want to comment on anything about capital improvement before we take questions on it?
Yeah, just another committee that probably not as, quote unquote glamorous as economic development, but something that's, really important. You look at a town even of our size, 1% of the budget's nothing to, scoff at. That's important stuff. People are working hard to pay our taxes, so there should be a lot of thought and time put into where that money is going. And if our departments, whether it's police or the schools or fire or whatever, says, hey, this is a really big expense or big thing that we need, we want to make sure that this committee is filled out so that they can do the job. Obviously, it's an area of need in town, so just, I want to make sure that we can get that stuff done that needs to be done.
Perfect. The one and only question I have about this one is, what's your thoughts on if you were appointed to this committee to be kind of out in the field, if the library needs a new HVAC system, are you going to go out and meet with Corrine to look at the HVAC system, or are you going to go down to police department to look at, whatever they may need?
Yeah, that's no problem at all. I mean, this is all about buy-in, right? For economic development is asking businesses to buy in, then I gotta be willing to buy in too, right? So I'm 100% willing to do whatever.
Excellent. Any questions from the board for capital improvement?
Just for me, because I'm on the capital improvement committee in full disclosure. So right now, we're in a position, and last time Ken was here, we had talked about this, because right now with the resignation of a couple members. There isn't enough people to actually hold a quorum confidently, pretty consistently. So this is a committee that is in charge of a percentage of allocated money per year. And it is an important committee. So for anybody that also wants to join a committee like this, I think it's important because we need to be able to vet projects, prioritize them, and prepare them for town meeting. And as of right now, it is a committee. Again, I'm taking shots tonight. It's fairly glamorous. You could say it's glamorous. It's fine.
Excuse me.
But it is a committee that is historically always struggling to find members because there just aren't enough volunteers. So I just want to put that out there that if anyone else is interested.
How many people are you down?
About half the committee is gone at this point.
Really?
Yeah.
People sit on this committee?
Are they not participating, or they have not formally resigned? I only
we
show
had
one
one-
vacancy, right?
Yeah, and there's one individual who's the chair who's been gone for a while due to medical
I
reasons.
think
and-
he's going to return soon. I saw him recently.
Oh,
He's
he might
doing
very
much
well,
better.
but we've been
Yeah.
keeping the committee together with duct tape and bubble gum for a while
Yeah.
now. And I think that we have some pretty significant vacancies. They've been doing a good job, but my only real question to this, because you kind of answered a lot of the stuff that I would have asked in the previous thing. Same thing, any disclosures or anything, conflicts of interest that you could think of?
No, sir.
Okay.
All right. With that being said, I'll entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Sweezy to capital improvement.
So moved.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Aye, okay.
All right, great.
Thank you very much for stepping up, and we'll be in touch about economic development. With that being said, appoint temporary delegate to Old Colony Planning Council. So for a little bit of history on Old Colony Planning Council, there was a member from the Board of Selectmen who sat on this committee, and that was myself, maybe a couple of years ago. But then I had to resign.
I did it before you.
Oh, yeah, you did it before
Yep,
me,
yep.
and then I did it.
Yep.
Then I had to step down from that position just because I was working with them pretty closely, so I didn't want appearance of conflict of interest. So with that being said, we had appointed Deb Petty, who was our town planner,
Yep.
to that position. And now with her gone, I was asked to appoint someone, even if it was on a temporary basis, to go. And it's a really great opportunity to be able to network with folks in our surrounding communities, learn about economic development and other planning things in the region. So with that being said, I wasn't sure what our board here thought, or if Ms. Green and Greer had, or if Ms. Getson had anything.
Well, we have a thought. This evening, Lisa is going to ask you to appoint Carol Jensen as the administrative assistant in Highway. And Jameson, when he was in that position, attended those meetings. So maybe just to have her bridge the gap until we hire a planner.
Are you sure he attended OCPC and not the OCPC transportation? Because
Right,
there's a
there's two,
different,
yeah.
there's a different one.
Actually,
Yep.
that could be. He didn't specify.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, there was two, and I'm glad that you
Yeah.
mentioned it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There were two, and maybe that's something that Ms. Jensen, if to be hired,
Transportation.
she should be going to the transportation ones, because I think those are during business hours, because I would see Deb in Brockton when I was working. So, and then this one, they meet the third Wednesdays, I
Yes,
believe,
yep.
at like 7 o'clock at the old Edison Power Plant next to Plymouth, Brockton City Hall.
Now, let me ask you this. Is it our thought that we would probably want the planner that we're going to hire to be the person, and so that's why you're saying temporarily? And if so, do we have kind of a line of sight on, I know it's somewhat imminent, right? Because you've kind of at least done your preliminary interviews. I know we haven't made a decision, but are we talking about, when we're talking about temporary, are we saying like a month and a half? Like, what do we?
It could be that, it could be October,
Yeah.
depending on which direction the board wants to go in.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right.
I mean, you know, we, that was going to be part of my town administrator report, but I could talk about it now. I mean, we did review all the applications today and resumes today for the town planner. Basically, we got 5 responses. And most troubling part of it is that only one of those applications, resumes, is local. And by local, I mean New Bedford.
Wow.
The other applicants are from New Jersey, New Hampshire, Long Meadow, Massachusetts, and Medford, Massachusetts. And two of those applicants do not have the qualifications or experience that we would need. So that basically leaves us with three. One of those is from New Jersey, and we're not really sure if they understand the town of Hanson, but we're going to dive into that. But something else has come up. Another option has presented itself, that if we were to go in that direction, this person would possibly come on board sometime mid-October. But I think, based on what Greer and I saw today, this person would be a superstar for the town of Hanson. Extremely knowledgeable, well-known throughout the town planning networks, 30 years in the business, OCPC networks. I don't want to disclose their name yet, because we're not at that level, but there was a discussion that they would entertain an offer on a part-time basis. They wouldn't be looking for any benefits, so it really would be a win-win for the town of Hanson. Extremely knowledgeable on all types of grants, both federal and state, and like I said, it could be a win-win for the town.
So, that sounds great. I'm curious, is it your inclination that on a part-time basis, this person would be able to achieve what a full-time person?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And the October, I assume, is because of prior commitments, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I hope that we're going to partner with the applicable planning and blah, 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 and whoever else would be impacted, because really for us, like, the planner is mostly just for grants and things like that we're working with, but on a frequent basis, that planner is working with the planning board.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
hopefully you'll get some insight into that. Okay, well, I mean, where I was going with this, Mr. Chair, is I was thinking, we were just talking about a month and a half or something, and I was thinking, well, could we just ask Lisa to sub in? But if we're looking until October, she's already got a lot on her plate.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to give
Yeah.
anything
It's
else.
only 3 Wednesdays. I mean, if we're looking at October, and it's the third Wednesday of every month, so we have, I guess tomorrow, they would have a meeting. And then we'd have August and September and October, so it's only 4 Wednesdays.
So it sounds like you're okay with it.
I'm okay
So
with it.
moved.
Before, with all due respect, I think that
Unless there's somebody else that wants to step in.
yeah, I think right now you have a full plate, and I wouldn't want to overextend you by saying, come in Wednesday morning and then also go to this meeting
I
that,
agree.
so,
Yep.
Tuesday night meeting.
so with that being said, is there someone on this board that would want to volunteer?
No.
No. Okay. So with that being said, I know that we didn't really read that into the announcements for a delegate for OCPC. So for that being said, right now, I mean, I think we'll have to just go this meeting. I mean, even if someone wanted to go sit in this month, just to take,
We ask a planning board
That's what I
member?
was gonna say, can we reach out to the planning board and just, they seem like the most logical group.
Right.
To, aside from us, the next
Right.
group I would say
no,
would be planning.
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Greer, can you send a memo up to planning and ask? So with that being said, we'll just wait to hear back from planning then. So, nope, good thinking. So with that being said, we already appointed someone to nope, we actually didn't do bylaw committee. We did the other bylaw review, zoning bylaw. All right, so the next item on the agenda is to appoint a selectman to the bylaw review committee. This is different from what we just discussed, which was the zoning bylaw review committee. So this one is just the regular bylaw review committee. We discussed this at our last meeting with potential things that the town's going to explore, which was to bring in third company in to review our bylaws. We discussed that as a board, right? So this is to have a selectman sit on this bylaw review committee. Was there anyone that was interested in serving on this committee?
I am, I am very, I know you guys are all rolling your eyes, but I am very interested in serving on this committee.
All right, anyone else, just so we can get a full picture? No?
No.
Okay. So with that being said, I'll entertain
Drainage.
I'll entertain a motion to appoint Laura Kemet to the Bylaw Review Committee
So moved.
as a Board of Selectmen representative.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? 5-0.
And then, so, since this, again, is another sort of zombie, committee that's gonna come to life again, how are we going to jumpstart that, Lisa? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for our next meeting, I have received a proposal from General Code for codification and review of our bylaws. So I will have all of that documentation for our next meeting for the Board of Selectmen to review.
Okay, but I'm saying, in terms of appointing the remainder of the committee, who else should be on that?
Oh, the Bylaw Review Committee?
Yeah. And you don't have to answer that tonight if we
Okay,
want to
okay.
talk about it at the next meeting, but I just want to make sure that, that we're ready out of the gate as soon as we get all of that preliminary work done, where they're syncing up the state bylaws to our bylaws, and I know that it's been years since we've looked at them, so it's going to be abysmal, that we're ready to go as soon as we get that. So maybe, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, if we could ask Lisa to just give some thought to who else might be on there. Sure. It may very well be a lot of the same folks we mentioned on the zoning bylaw committee.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. And you're okay with that, right, Ms. Green?
Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is accept the resignation of Michael Saya from the Council of Aging effective June 12th, 21.
So moved with regret.
With regret, and
Second.
thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Next item on the agenda is appoint administrative assistant to the Highway Department. Ms. Green?
Yes, members of the board. So as we know, Jamison Shave, who has just been appointed as our new highway director, was the administrative assistant at our highway department, which led us to post the vacancy for an administrative assistant in the highway department. That is a union position, so there was a requirement to post that in-house for 7 days. And lo and behold, we did have an employee of the town. She was employed by the Council on Aging as a senior memory unit
Yes.
coordinator. But unfortunately, she was furloughed for COVID. So she did come forward and put in an application. She was the only one that we got. However, she comes with significant experience and background in administrative tasks and duties. We did interview her, and she turns out she's going to be an excellent addition to the highway department. She comes with rave reviews from Mary Collins, and seems like she's going to be a very good fit. Her name is Carol Jensen. We are working out the particulars as far as her being a furlough employee, of where she fits as far as seniority and vacation and things like that. So I am working with that with Kate. But in the meantime, right now, she's scheduled to begin August 2nd. And I'm just hoping for the board to agree to appoint this woman, as we feel she's going to be a great addition to the town.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Just a quick question. Jameson interviewed her as well, right?
Yes, all
Okay,
three of us
thank you.
did, and she did go down to the highway barn, so she has seen the area that she'll be working with, and she's fine with it.
It'll be a little different. She used
Oh,
to
I
be
would
the
say, yeah.
executive assistant to the president of Braintree Hospital.
Oh, my,
So we're
yes.
like, are you okay with this, the accommodations? And
Could be a
she said-
different cultural thing, but,
Yeah.
good for
Yeah.
her.
And Jameson
Yeah.
said she's a total fit. He
Well,
was
I'm thrilled
very
for
pleased.
Jameson that he's going to finally get some help, because he's been doing it all. And I'm thrilled that it's a success story of somebody who was on furlough that we're able to get back into
Turn
the.
back, yes.
So, good work.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So congratulations, Carol. So, in your packet, we have,
Go to the
that
vote.
official?
I
Oh,
interrupted you.
sorry, yeah, thank you. So all in favor of appointing Carol Jensen to administrative assistant, it's a 5-0. Thank you, Kenny. So,
Laura, and then,
And Jim.
okay.
perfect. One-day liquor licenses, we have a couple retroactive ones, as well as prospective ones. So all the information of those are in your packets. Any questions? All right, all in favor?
So moved.
Oh, so motion, yeah, sorry. Motion second?
Second.
All right, perfect. All in favor? Aye. All right, it's a 5-0 vote, so that's all set. Also in your packet is a couple of items to be declared as surplus. A library phone system and the police department vehicles that are going to be used as trades, from what I understand, to purchase new cruisers. I'm looking for a motion to
So
accept
moved.
Second.
or declare these. Moved in second. All in favor? It's a 5-0. Perfect. So update on Cushing Trails. Ms. Kemet had emailed me saying that there was an opportunity that she had reached out to Senator Brady's office and and Mass Housing. So I'm going to let her take that away.
Okay, so at last week's ZBA meeting, there were a lot of concerns that were brought up about the Cushing Trails, which is the 40B that's being proposed off of Spring Street. But one of the main things that came up, really, I'd say across the board, was the concern about the contaminants from the Rockland Town dump sort of draining onto that property. And the abutters brought it up, several other folks that were environmental in background. I believe you said we don't want a Love Canal, direct quote. That kind of got me thinking, like, okay, well, like, what could we do as a town to just make sure, because I don't want that on my conscience, that we would let something like that. But I also don't want to stop Mr. Cushing from developing the property. I want to be real about the fact that it's private property, he owns it, and as long as he's following the regulations, then he's going to be likely permitted to build there. But what I want to do is, how can we get a line on what level of contamination is on that property? So, reached out to Senator Brady, reached out to Mass Housing, and it turns out that there is a Mass Housing partnership that's a grant. You might be familiar with this, Lisa, I don't know, but it's a grant that the town can apply for to get a specialist. And in this case, we would ask, could the specialist help us size what we're looking at there? You know, is it bigger than a bread box? Is there nothing to worry about? You know, that type of thing. And I just would really like to see this board, you know, in the interest of the public health and the things that were expressed at the last ZBA meeting, because ZBA can't do anything about this. This is beyond their purview. You know, they can basically look at the application and say, you've met these conditions, we're okay with, you know, with you not meeting these certain conditions and asking for variances, but they can't independently say, we want to hire somebody to come and do this work. So I would like to see if we could get Lisa to reach out to this Mass Housing Partnership and apply for a grant. And nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's not going to cost us anything, but if we get it, it would just, I think, help to give an assurance to some of the abutters that, look, we take this seriously. We understand that you're expressing these concerns, and as a town, we're trying to be supportive of you, as well as kind of do the right thing by a person who owns private property. So I don't know if that all made sense, but.
That's great. Mr. Mitchell?
Couple questions. First thing, will they do private property, Laura?
Yes.
They will?
Yes.
And the second?
Because it's, the reason, it is private property, but keep in mind that Mass Housing is supporting this, because it's a 40B. So Mass Housing really has skin in the game, and there's I don't know what the reasons are, but there's a 40B in Milton that just applied for this same grant, this same type of a grant, to get some help looking at environmental impact of a 40B, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the second question, what if we do get the grant and it's allowed and we found out there's big issues on contaminants? Who's responsible? Who's liable?
It would not be, well, go ahead, Lisa, you're.
I can answer that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with that particular type of grant, we'd have a licensed site professional come in, who, they're basically scientists that look at environmental pollution and things like that. So they'll conduct an evaluation. They'll start with a phase 1 evaluation of that area. If they do find that there's contaminants, they will let us know initially on a phase 1 what they are. But we'd have to go into a phase 2 to find out the level of the contamination. So they can identify the contamination at phase 1, but as far as the level, that would be on a phase 2. So the grants, I think, with Mass Development, it's with Mass Development and Mass Housing.
Yep.
We can apply for the grants for that. And as far as private property, all we need is the okay from Mr. Cushing, just for this licensed site professional to go in and drill up some holes and collect samples. But, yeah.
But again, if the samples turn
All
out
right,
bad.
so as far as a responsible property, if it's a Rockland, if it's the town of Rockland, if it's a landfill that they have not capped properly, they could be responsible for it.
It's already
but
under DEP.
That,
yeah.
that's a big balloon there that
But I
we'd
think
have
where
to deal
Kenny's
with, but
going, are we buying liability for our town by doing
we are
that?
not, because
Okay,
we
yeah.
did not create the problem.
Yeah.
We're just
So if I'm a
identifying
resident
a
down there,
level. Yeah.
And I'm watching this meeting, I'm going, great, the town, looks into that. So we hire the person, we get the grant, and they come in and they say, boy, you got a lot of contamination over there. So if I'm a resident down there, I'm going, great, thank you, the town of Hanson, for recognizing that. Where do you go from there at that point?
That's up to Mr. Cushion of where he wants to go with it. If he wants to take over the LSP to have them do a phase 2 or phase 3 or whatever, or get together with DEP and see what they can do, I mean, they have to probably go to Rockland. I mean, that would be a big undertaking, but at least we would have an idea of what type of pollution is in that area.
Right, okay.
Yep.
All right, any other questions from the board? No? All right, with that being said, I think it's just
Yeah, I
an
think
informal
probably just
poll.
take a motion to
Yeah,
ask Lisa to do it. I
Sure,
don't
a
know.
motion? Do I have a motion to ask Ms. Green to pursue this grant?
Absolutely, so moved.
Moved?
Second.
Seconded? Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? 5-0. All right, thank you very much, Ms. Kemet. That's a really great opportunity, so, thank you. Next on the agenda is approve open session minutes, yeah. So nonetheless, it's been a long day. So has the board been able to read all of them, or do we just want to approve a couple this meeting and then approve a couple next meeting? Or do we want to just approve them all tonight?
Approve them all.
Yeah,
I
I
read
mean,
them
I've
all.
read them, but, honestly, it's like, you gotta brush the cobwebs out, but I mean,
was a
so
good-
I think they're fairly accurate,
It was a
but.
good trip down memory
Yeah.
lane.
Well, yeah,
So,
Over 10 months old, it's only gonna get foggier.
right.
that's true.
So with these, Joe, I don't think there's anything that you sat in on, correct?
I have to abstain.
So you have to
I
abstain
can still
from-
vote on them, but I'm gonna abstain.
Yeah.
Perfect. So with that being said, I will hear a motion to approve July 9th, 2019, July 16th, 2019, January 7th, 2020, January 28th, 2020, February 2nd, 2020, February 25th, 2020, March 17th, 2020, and September 29th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and any edits or anything like
Well,
that?
I just want to double check that nobody missed any, you can still vote, but I just
Right.
wanted to double check. I don't think anybody missed.
I did notice that in the footer on a couple of them, the date is not correct, and I'll fix that.
All right.
That's
Okay.
just like a, kind of a
Small
scrivener's
edit.
error.
All right,
And I am putting more minutes in the Dropbox for your next meeting, so if you want to get ahead on those, and I'll put them in probably by the end of the week. They'll be
Great.
in your next Dropbox.
excellent. And it's Amanda that's been doing these, correct?
Amanda and Lucas Moscoso,
Great.
and they're both fabulous. They were quick studies, and they both got
Thank
it.
you
Yeah.
very much to those two.
They did a
So-
nice little job, really. They
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Very extensive, very thorough, so thank you. Because doing minutes is the worst part about being on a committee sometimes. So,
We've actually asked Amanda to stay on as our minutes clerk to handle our minutes. It's very little money and well spent money.
perfect, excellent. So with that all being said, I have a motion moved and seconded. All in favor?
4-0.
401. So, all right, with that being said, Ms. Green, Town Administrator's Report.
Okay, so members of the board, today I got a call from Tom O'Brien from Plymouth County regarding CARES Act. Now, on Thursday, we're having a check hand-delivered to us for $114,808.55, which is submission number 8 for the CARES Act. And mainly that is, again, that's Whitman Hanson cleaning of the buses, installing plexiglass in area offices like the nurse's office, custodian's office, and more plexiglass siding, shields, some of the different areas and offices in the buildings, and more cleaning. So lots of cleaning for the schools. We're getting a reimbursement check. And at last meeting, a request was made for our Hanson residents, Christy Mewis, in putting up a banner. Well, she has a sister, Sam and Christy Mewis, and there was a request to hang a banner up on the town green. The banner is being provided by a group, so they're providing the banner. So I don't see any reason why we can't put the banner up. They're both on the Olympic soccer team, I believe, and that's really quite remarkable for a little town of Hanson to have sisters on the Olympic soccer team, and we wish them the best of luck. As far as green communities,
Ms.
which...
Green, I'm sorry,
Oh, yep.
may I interrupt? I think a lot of folks have been asking, is there more we can do as a town to recognize this truly unique fact that we've got two sisters from our little podunk town
The only
that
to
have
ever
made
do
it
it.
to the Olympics? And so, is there something, some type of like a soccer parade, some kind of, can we do some type of a day dedicated to them? I'm spitballing, I have no idea, but I mean, are they,
I agree with you, and I'm glad, I appreciate you stopping this, to talk about this, because this is one of those things. I mean, this small little town invented ocean spray. We have Kristen Merlin, we have Christy and Sam Mewis. First people to ever be, well, not only is it a huge accomplishment to get on a national soccer team, Olympic soccer players representing the United States. They are the only to ever do it, and they both, and one of them won an ESPY award the
Yes.
other day. So I mean, this is really, for a small town, this is absolutely fantastic that we keep striking gold like this. I really think that we need to really kind of vet this and figure out what we can do, because this small town keeps getting wins, and it's absolutely fantastic. So, can we do something? Can we reach out to them and invite them here to do some type of special celebration? I'm assuming that's the special secret that you have attached to your chest that you don't want to give up.
For October 2nd?
Maybe you can
No.
invite them to the drainage committee, ask them if they want to be on it,
Definitely,
get them excited.
because they actually hold the record for most goals
Yeah.
by sisters
Yeah.
on the U.S. national team.
It's unbelievable,
Pretty amazing.
and I think we need to do something, we have to.
So maybe if we wanted to think about it, parade, or, we can definitely issue citations. I think that was going to be on the next agenda. But, if you guys have ideas, feel free to forward them along to Greer, and then maybe we can put them in the Dropbox and discuss it at a
I would really like to
another
think
date.
about a parade. I love the idea of little people, little soccer players going like, these girls like grew up in our town, like this is awesome. Like, I think that it could be so inspirational. And I just love the idea of having a little soccer parade. I mean, it doesn't have to be
I'm
just a
sure their
soccer
schedule's
parade,
gonna be
but
tight now,
I'm
too.
sure it will,
So they have
and
to
I
reach out
mean,
and find out when they're gonna be
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, yeah.
well, we will be flexible around their availability. But they have to come home for the holidays once in a while,
They still have friends here, they still all just graduated high school.
Yeah.
So, I
Yep.
mean, we should do something for them.
All right,
Maybe we
perfect.
can coordinate with our youth soccer league as well in the town of Hanson. Maybe we can coordinate something with them, and definitely, absolutely.
All right, and you were mentioning green communities.
So,
Oh, no,
yes,
no,
so with
thank
green
you.
communities, as in my previous employment, I did work with green communities for 4 years. So I really look forward to working with green communities again, with OCPC, with everything. We've signed a memorandum of understanding with OCPC that they would help us with our Green Communities Annual Report. It's a grant, so it doesn't cost the town of anything. But what it does is, as long as we file that report by the deadline, we are eligible for to apply for the next round of Green Communities. So that's going to be my goal, to complete these tasks and to get our annual report submitted so that we are on the board to be able to apply for the next one. I've already spoken with Ernie Sandler at the schools so that we can get the school projects up and running. And on Friday, I do have a meeting with Hunter Smith of The Guardian, who was our consultant for these projects. So we're going to get this rolling right away, so that we can qualify to apply for the next round. And also so we talked about the town planner. We also looked at our IT resumes, and we have targeted 2 individuals who are already ITs, directors in other towns. So hopefully, we will get them in next week for interviews and, have somebody present to the board for appointment maybe in the next 3 weeks or so. So we are moving far and fast ahead on that. And cell tower. So as you saw today, we got the easement deed for the cell tower, and also I learned today that the permit for the electrical permit for the electrical work was issued today by our building department, and the commercial permit was issued, building permit was issued back in March. So the cell tower project is moving forward rather quickly at this point, and hopefully we'll see something on the horizon soon with the cell tower. And that's all I have to report today.
Ms. Green, looping back to town planner and IT director interviews, would you like a member from the board to sit in on any of those interviews?
If it is the will of the board, absolutely.
IT.
For IT, yeah.
We need a young person who knows all the current,
Ouch, okay, Greer, way to alienate the rest of us, okay?
No, Matt is,
Laura,
That is-
we're
Matt
out.
is always troubleshooting for us in our office.
For once, I
It's
didn't
like,
get.
oh my gosh, how do you know how to do all this
I was the
stuff?
youngest for a while till
Well
Matt
done,
came
Greer.
along.
Well,
I just want somebody who can help me get my cell phone working. Ever since I get this new phone to replace the one that wasn't charging, I can't get this one to work because the other one is still connected somehow, and so that's the first thing we're gonna make sure that they can
I'd like to
do.
make a motion to appoint Chairman Dyer to sit on the interviews
Second.
for IT Director and also the Hanson Planning Board.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'd like to make a motion that Joe Weeks be his alternate. Yeah, just in case Matt can't make it.
All kinds of motions.
Right? Did that get second?
I'll
Everything-
second that.
Everything is approved?
All right, so move to the vote, all in favor? Or moved and seconded, all in favor, 5-0. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
My
So
alternate
we
could
do
be my
hope the
9-year-old.
interviews are gonna be either next
usually
Wednesday
helps
or
me.
next Thursday for IT.
Sorry.
Next Wednesday or next Thursday for IT.
Okay.
Greer is gonna be reaching out to the applicants
I
to see
think
what their availability is.
Thursday, but I'll get
Yeah, give me a
times
call
for you.
tomorrow, and we'll
Okay.
Okay.
figure
Yeah,
out
we
a
can
time.
talk about it.
Matt, if you can't make it and Joe can't make it, and then Joe's 9-year-old daughter can't make it, maybe I can
I
substitute.
can tell you right now, she's watching on TV, so she's committed. She's committed right now, so get ready.
All right, so something that we haven't seen on the agenda for a while, committee reports. We have a couple listed here, but we all serve on committees, and it's always nice to have a little bit of cross-pollination from each committee. So, Mr. Weeks, have you had any committee meetings this week, or since last meeting?
Nope, nothing going on.
All right, Ms. Kemet?
Well, I was on vacation, but McQuon School Reuse, we are queued up to meet with the folks at Keller Williams, I think next week, Lisa. I'm not sure if they've finalized the date, but
Right.
did you want to give a brief update on, because the last time that you talked to us, you told us that you thought we might have to rebid, yada, yada, on the,
Right.
maybe you can queue up that update.
So very fortunately, we do not have to rebid the whole bid. With this particular type of project, a deadline, a date for acceptance of proposals is not required, so that's very good news. We do want to get the reuse committee back together so that we could re-rate the proposals based on a sheet that our former town planner, Ded Petty, had developed, as we think that possibly KW Commercial might be a little biased. So we're going to review them and go with that route, and I understand that all of the bidders are still in the game at
And
this
once
point.
we do that as a committee, we'll bring it back to you guys.
Yes.
And kick the tires and have you guys take a look at whether you want to move forward with, the bid or not.
Excellent.
And we'll see what happens.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right.
You guys already know all the economic development stuff.
So the big, for myself, Energy Committee, that was a big highlight of receiving the Green Communities Grant. But then also too, as everyone's driving home tonight or driving to go get an ice cream maybe, if you start noticing that the streetlights are white, we're now converting our streetlights to LED from sodium, high-pressure sodium. This is gonna save the town over $15,000 just changing light bulbs.
Wow.
So, so if you see a difference, that's what's going on, so it's kind of been fun to watch the progress over the last couple of weeks. And then Plymouth, final reuse committee for Plymouth County Hospital. We haven't been able to meet the last couple of meetings, hopefully we'll be able to meet again, but we're just really waiting on engineering plans to move forward. And that's it for right now on my end.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, do you think that you will possibly have some town meeting articles related to Plymouth County Hospital?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yep. Mr. Mitchell?
Nothing to put.
Mr. Hickey?
Same here.
Okay, excellent. With that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn and to attend the Wage and Personnel meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. And this is we're adjourned. At, I don't know if that clock is right or not, but maybe 7:45?
7:46.
7:45, yep, perfect.
The Town of Hanson Wage and Personnel Board, Hanson Town Hall Selectmen's Meeting Room, Tuesday, July 13th, 2021 at 7:46. Well, do we want to wait, do we have to wait until 8? Because it says 8 on this.
No, 7:30.
Okay. Oh, all right. So, 7:46, call to order. We have new business, review, approve, re-revised highway director job description.
Yes, so the only difference on the job description for the highway director was, on the prior one, it noted that a hoisting license and a CDL was required. However, the board, voted, I think in the last one, that for Mr. Shave, it was not going to be required. So that requirement was removed from this job description, as well as the tree warden information was removed as well. So that's the only difference in the job descriptions. So we're just looking for an approval of the revised job descriptions minus those 2 points.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor? All right, 5-0. And then we have a revote the pay rates for Camp Kawani caretakers.
Yes, so at the last meeting, there was a little confusion on the hourly rate for the caretakers. In what we just need to revote the rate. So for the 4 new hires that came on board, actually, I'm sorry, it was the 6 new hires, the hourly rate was $14 an hour. It was confusing because Kenny mentioned $15, but then our Recreation Commission Chair put in for $14.50, but it was actually $14 an hour for the 6 new caretakers. The Jack O'Leary, his pay rate was going up to $15 from $13, and the other 2 were,
The new, not the new, I'm sorry, the caretakers who have been there for a while would go to $14.50. So it's 14 new, $14.50 for the people who've been there a while, and $15 for Jack O'Leary because of his special skill set.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So did you need a new?
new motion.
Yeah, I was just thinking, do we need a motion just to reflect what you just said?
Yeah,
Yeah.
motion to.
So
yeah.
moved.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor? All right, opposed? 5-0. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Seeing nothing else on the agenda, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor? All right, so carries. We are adjourned.